For years, Tim Ballard has been championed as a modern-day superhero.
The first time I saw one of the kids from the video, and it changed my life.
He was the face of Operation Underground Railroad, a movement that inspired hope around the world by rescuing children from human traffickers. However, Ballard's crusade to save innocent lives has always hidden a darker secret.
Oh, I think he's a pathological liar.
Beneath the accolades and the applause, a dark storm has been brewing.
I mean, I can't find a time that he's told the truth about anything.
Shocking allegations of sexual misconduct have surfaced, casting a shadow over his once unquestioned reputation. I am host Sarah James McLaughlin, and in this new season of The Opportunist, we explore the rise and the fall of Tim Ballard. Join us this October for Tim Ballard, Unmasking a Hero. Subscribe to a new season of The Opportunist now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 387 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah.
We just dropped a Patreon episode on Saturday night, and it's on Joan Rebel and Goldine Pizer. And it's a case that goes back to the 50s, but it actually takes place on Halloween night.
It's a good one.
Which is why we picked it. And there's a lot going on. The guy answers his door, thinks it's a trick-or-treater, shot in the chest. There's a lot wrapped up into it.
And I know you love Halloween stories.
I do. We also have a brand new episode out on True Crime All the Time where we're talking about Andre McDonald and the murder of his wife, Anne Dreen. This is a wealthy couple who seemed like they had, this great, perfect life. But there was a lot of volatility under the surface.
Glass houses, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and give our shout outs. For Patreon, we had Raylene Brewer.
Hey, Raylene.
Ash Zwizzler.
Zwizzer and Twizzlers.
Sheila Gilliam.
What's up, Gilliam?
Lisa Hervey.
Hey, Hervey.
Teresa Pereira.
What's going on, Teresa?
Mermaid Maniac jumped out to her highest level.
No fishing around there, mermaid.
Natalie Pater.
Hey, Natalie.
Sarah Lester.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
Karen Robinson.
What's up, Karen?
And last but not least, Jennifer Ball.
Ah, good old Jennifer.
Then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Amber Hatcher.
Thanks, Hatcher.
Yeah, appreciate the new Patreon support, the continued support. We also had a great PayPal donation from Andrea Edwards.
Well, thanks, Edwards.
So thanks to everyone. All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
Yeah, I am.
We're talking about the disappearance of Chance Englebert. Chance Englebert, a newlywed and a father to an infant son, went missing in July 2019. Chance went for a walk after getting into an argument with his wife and was later captured by a security camera in Terrytown, Nebraska. But no one has seen or heard from Chance in 5 years. Chance Englebert was 25 years old when he disappeared. He grew up on his family's ranch in Burdock, South Dakota. You ever been to South Dakota?
Been to South Dakota once.
Have you? I've never been. North Dakota, South Dakota, neither one.
Yeah, I've been to North, just been to South.
Maybe I should go to the Dakotas.
You should.
Check them out.
You should take your Harley out there, go to that Harley thing in South Dakota.
That Harley thing. You talking about Sturgis?
Yes.
Yeah. I got you. Chance started bareback riding in the 8th grade and became a rodeo star, according to several sources. He earned a riding scholarship to Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Chance studied diesel mechanics and welding.
Cheyenne. That's a nice little place to go.
Yeah. Now, there are scholarships for a lot of things. They now have scholarships for playing video games.
Do they really?
E-games, like sport games and all kinds of different games. I did not know that you could earn a riding scholarship. Now, I guess there's equestrian. I'm familiar with that, but
Yeah. It's a little different.
yeah, bareback riding, but hey, maybe in Wyoming.
Trying to think what would be a good scholarship for me to get.
BS. Just BS.
Just to be champion BSer.
Chance wanted to work on his family ranch, but this wasn't possible immediately after graduation because he was living in Moorcroft, Wyoming, and needed to find work to support himself. He got a job as a welder at a coal mine. In his free time, Chance enjoyed participating in demolition derby and was often working on his derby car.
And those are fun to watch.
They are fun to watch. You know why you often have to work on your derby car?
Because it got demoed.
Because it's getting smashed. The whole point is for it to get smashed. Although he lived out of state, Chance was close with his family and was in regular contact with them. In 2017, Chance met his future wife, Bailey. They got married in October 2018, and their son, Banks, was born in May 2019. I like that name, Banks.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Bailey told Dateline in September 2019, "He is such a good father. When I found out I was pregnant, I was kind of freaking out, but he was so excited, like stupid excited." And hey, we've both been there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a mixture of fear and excitement, I think, when you find out that you're going to have a child.
We can be over the top on that first one for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. In 2019, Bailey was attending nursing school and taking care of the baby. Chance was the sole income earner. Before he went missing, Chance and 600 others were laid off from their jobs at the coal mine after the company went bankrupt. Wow, that is rough. 600 people.
Yeah, that's tough knowing that she was going to school and she wasn't working. So
Find a new job quick.
yeah.
And he was able to do that. He found a job with Blakeman Propane in Moorcroft. He was supposed to start on Monday, July 8th. Chance last spoke to his mother, Dawn Englebert, about a week before he disappeared. He asked for a week alone to work on his marriage and said he might see her the following week. In July 2019, Chance, Bailey, and their son went on a road trip to Gering, Nebraska to visit Bailey's family for the 4th of July weekend. But Chance went missing on July 6th. That day, he went golfing with his in-laws, but he became angry when they made comments about how he'd be making less money at his new job. And those are tough conversations with in-laws.
It is, right? I mean, you're trying to do the best you can. And the last thing you really want to hear is how maybe you're not doing enough.
Well, the whole in-law dynamic is somewhat strange, can be strange to begin with.
Yes.
You know, you become part of another family, a family you didn't grow up with. And, you know, you're forced, for the lack of a better word, to ingratiate yourself in that family. You're going to spend time with them. Sometimes, like in my case, my in-laws are great.
Yeah.
They're very easy to get along with. We have no problems. They love me. I love them. But that is not the same for everyone.
Sometimes it can be competitive.
Sometimes they just don't like you
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't do anything wrong, but you took their baby away and you can never live up to their expectations. Now, I'm not saying that was the situation here, but it can be.
Right.
Chance called Bailey from the golf course and told her he wanted to leave and go back to Wyoming. Bailey picked him up and started driving to her grandparents' house. This only made Chance more upset. Once they arrived, he got out of the vehicle and started walking off. Bailey explained to Dateline, when he gets mad, he'll walk to cool down. But I didn't think he'd go far. He just kept walking until I couldn't see him. I didn't think he was serious.
Well, that's what some people need to do. You know, they need to have alone time. I'm like that sometimes. My son is definitely like that. He'll tell you when he's upset, he just needs to be left alone. He doesn't want to talk about anything. He just needs time to cool off.
Well, that's a lot better way, to cool off than, to get physical. Some people get physical. They want to get combative.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a person just kind of want to be by themselves for a little bit, cool off, and then let's get back to normal.
Exactly.
According to News Nation, Chance made a left turn down a side street in Gering, and that was the last time Bailey saw him. While Chance walked, he called some of his family and his best friend, Matt Miller. Matt Miller told News Nation he said he got in a fight with his in-laws and he was wanting to come back to Wyoming, to his house here in Moorcroft, and needed a ride immediately. I was 4 hours away. It was just no way. And we were in the middle of the 4th of July party at my house, so there was just no way I could make it.
And that's rough sometimes, right? You want to help your friend out. He's going through a tough time, and you want to be there, but sometimes it's just not realistic.
Yeah, sometimes it's not feasible.
Yeah.
Miller told Chance to wait, saying, give us 5-10 minutes, I'll call you back. I'm going to see if I can find you a ride. And if I can't, then we'll shut down the whole thing and come get you. So, he didn't want to, but it sounds like he was willing to if that's what, had to happen. According to Miller, Chance didn't sound intoxicated. He was upset and just wanted to get home. Chance allegedly called back and told Miller he was walking north to Torrington, which is 35 miles from Gering.
It's a hell of a walk.
That is. Chance last spoke to Bailey at 7:46 p.m. She called to him multiple times that evening. Chance told Bailey he was walking south, which contradicts what he allegedly told Matt Miller. The last confirmed image of Chance was picked up by security cameras at 7:50 p.m. He was last seen walking alone in Terrytown, which is 1.5 miles north of Gering. Chance was captured walking down the street, looking down and making a sharp left turn, as if he was following a map on his phone. Chance sent his final text to his Aunt Katie at 9:08 p.m. He sent 2 short messages. The first was a grumpy face emoji, followed by a mix of letters. News Nation published a screenshot of the exact text, which read, and then there's the emoji, kind of the face with the mouth going straight across, right? Not happy, not sad. And then it was just IBDESEREALLYG. So it's kind of gobbledygook. I mean, it doesn't really make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's not a real word. You might be able to decipher it, but if anyone could.
I have to be careful doing those things because I signed a letter with a 3-letter agency.
Oh, about like code breaking.
Yes.
And I got you. But Chance's family was confused by these messages because, like I said, the letters really have no meaning, and because Chance never used emojis when he texted. When you would be really suspicious of a text that I sent you?
Oh, if you use emojis? Yeah, I'd be like, who is this?
Yeah, because if the world has ended, because I am anti-emoji.
Yeah, you are not an emoji person. Or a GIF, or a meme, any of that stuff. No.
Don't use none of it. If I have something to tell you, I'm going to tell you in words. It will be a full sentence, complete, not WTF, not
No.
ROFLAO, whatever.
It will be a complete sentence, but it'll be a very short sentence, too.
It will be. It won't be verbose.
Yeah.
But after this, there was no further cell activity, and his phone died later that evening. His phone last pinged around 10 p.m. on a cell tower near County Road 19, west of Scottsbluff, Nebraska. KNOP News reported that it was near the WTT truck stop.
Well, clearly, whatever happened on the golf course, the conversation really upset him. I mean, like, over the top upset him.
Yeah, must have. I mean, if he was even contemplating walking to a town 35 miles away, well, that's a lot of head clearing time. Several people, including Chance's wife, tried to get in contact with him throughout the night. A severe storm passed through the area that night, and caused power outages to some areas, Bailey told Dateline she thought Chance was taking shelter in a nearby bar or building. Her grandfather went out to look for him, but no one saw him. And I just wonder, Gibbs, like, how bad did the in-laws feel that whatever conversation they had upset him to the point where, he felt as though he needed to, walk away.
Yeah.
Bailey said, I still wasn't that worried. I figured he'd come slinking in late that night, but he didn't. And when I woke up in the morning and he wasn't there, I knew it was bad. And there's always that point, where it goes from, not that worried. He'll show up or she'll show up to now I know something's wrong, or now I feel in my gut that this is really bad.
Because you kind of think, well, he's a pretty tough guy, right? He worked in a coal mine, welder,
bareback
rodeo
rider.
Yeah.
Bailey reported her husband missing on the morning of July 7th. The police feared Chance might have fallen in the nearby North Platte River, or that he suffered hypothermia from the cold rain. Family and friends initiated a search party. 17 law enforcement agencies were involved in the search and utilized drones, divers, and cadaver dogs. 17.
That's a lot.
Different law enforcement agencies. It is a lot.
But it tells you they're taking it very serious.
They are taking it seriously. And then we also talk about, some of the newer technology, right? You've often heard about divers. Obviously, dogs have been used for many years, but this use of drones is fascinating to me. How much ground can you cover with a high definition camera that would take, a lot of manpower, and now someone can do it electronically.
Yeah, you can deploy those pretty quickly too.
I know you have a pending lawsuit from your neighbor about your deployment of your drone.
Some people just can't take a joke.
Lead investigator Brian Eads told News Nation, we always try to treat things as a homicide until they're proved otherwise. And I'll be honest with you, I love that statement, because how many cases have we talked about where it was done the other way around, right? It was not looked at as a homicide. And so, evidence wasn't collected. Certain things were given to, the person's family to take, or whatever the case may be. People trampled, all across what would later become thought of as a potential crime scene. So I think what, this Brian Eads is saying is definitely the right way to do things.
Oh, I agree. This is by far the better route to go.
Yes, because if you do the work and it's not needed, well, okay, no harm, no foul, right? But if it's done the other way around, you can't unring that bell. You can't go back and do that work because everything's contaminated or gone or whatever the case is. Chance's mother, Dawn Englebert, and his friend Mark Miller reject the theory that Chance fell into the river. Miller told News Nation, I'd say Chance was born and raised for that kind of weather. There's just no way it could take him. I've hunted with him for 2 years beforehand. That guy could cover country. I like to call him a mountain goat, man. And like you said, Gibbs, he was an outdoorsy type of guy.
Yeah.
And I do think he was a rough and tumble guy, probably. Now, does that mean you couldn't suffer hypothermia? No. That could get the toughest of individuals. But Miller went on to say, I don't think he's in a river. I think he's buried underground and he's hidden. If he got hurt by that storm, Mother Nature doesn't hide a body like that. And I could agree and disagree both with that statement. If you're talking bodies of water, then Mother Nature could absolutely hide a body.
Sure.
But Mother Nature is not going to bury a body underground. You could get buried in an avalanche or a snowstorm or something like that, but that's not what we're talking about here. In a different interview, Miller told Cowboy State Daily that He and other volunteers conducted 25 searches of the area, starting at the golf course and following the North Platte River to Torrington.
Pretty good chunk of real estate.
It is, but it does seem as though they followed his path, or what was thought to be his path. You have a lot of different law enforcement agencies. You have, friends and family and other people doing quite a bit of searching. Don Englebert cited Chance's knowledge of the outdoors and his physical strength as reasons he most likely did not fall into the river. And I get that, right? But you can have all the knowledge in the world. You can have all the strength in the world. You could still slip and fall into a river.
Sure. Late at night, dark out, crazy weather pattern. And the fact is, you could be tired at that time.
Yeah. We don't know the circumstances exactly. Lead investigator Brian Eads said the river was still a theory because Chance's last known location was close to the river. His disappearance received national news coverage and was featured in an article for Dateline Missing in America. Bailey said in that interview, "I think whatever happened is really bad. People just don't vanish. Something happened to him." Now, you could make the argument that if he had fallen into the river, he most likely would have surfaced, or divers would have found his body at some point. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not.
Yeah. Let's not forget, he was also very close to a truck stop.
Yeah, so now you're getting into possible theories of maybe getting into a truck with someone to hitch a ride home or something like that. And then, that could take you down a much different path.
For sure.
She emphasized that Chance was a good father and would not leave their son. His mother said the same thing. And we say that about a lot of parents, and most parents are like that. Their children are their world. They wouldn't voluntarily leave them for anything. On October 18th, 2021, a human bone was found near the North Platte River on property near Minnetonka and Melbetta, Nebraska. A hunter discovered part of a lower arm bone and a piece of cloth within 100 feet of each other. A forensic pathologist confirmed the bone was human, and bone marrow was extracted for DNA testing. After the bone was found, authorities contacted Search and Rescue and brought in a cadaver dog, but no other bones or materials were found. And that seems so strange to only find a lower arm bone, doesn't it?
It does.
Like you would expect if someone died out there to find more bones.
Unless an animal carried it over there.
Yes, and the rest of the body was somewhere way far away.
Yeah.
In January 2022, Brian Eads with the Gering Police Department did an interview with News Nation and told the outlet that one theory they were looking into was a robbery gone wrong. The alleged robbery had been reported to him, but he said there's been a few different variations of that story that have been reported as far as different people involved, different circumstances, all of which we look into, and some continue to look into. So he's being, a little vague,
Sure.
but there are reasons behind it if they're still looking into it.
Ongoing investigation.
It's an ongoing investigation. There's only so much he can say. He said about whether there was foul play in Chance's disappearance. At this point, there's no evidence to suggest it did happen, but there's also no evidence to suggest it didn't. And you could say that about a lot of things, right? Especially in an unsolved case, where you have a number of theories. A lot of times there's no evidence to say that one theory or another theory is correct, but there's also no evidence to disprove it.
Basically, you're saying there's no conclusive evidence to say anything at this point.
No, all they know is that, he was at certain points at certain times. And they know his phone died at a certain time. They know that, he called a few people, he texted some people, and that's about it. pretty much everything they know comes from his phone data.
Yeah.
And the one time that he was caught on video surveillance. Eid said there were no persons of interest. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that there's not anybody that they're looking at? Or does that mean that they're not ready to come out and name anyone?
I think it's the latter.
I do too. Because whenever they say that, I think, well, there could be persons of interest that they're looking into, but they don't want to name them. According to News Nation, Bailey asked for a death certificate early on in the investigation. Brian Eid said this was a red flag, but she explained her reasoning. According to Eid, she had a son to provide for. She wasn't working at the time. Chance was the sole breadwinner for the house. And in discussing it with Chance's mom, they discussed that if he was to get on Chance's Social Security, they would have to have a death certificate in order to show that.
Well, if they're struggling, young child, need money, need insurance, it makes sense if you feel like he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And she felt like that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
And she went through his mom as well and basically got her blessing.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a red flag to me in the sort of way that you would think, well, that was a motive for her to do something. Because the way that I would look at it is that Bailey would be much better off with Chance in her life, working, providing for the family. I mean, how much are they going to get in Social Security benefits? It's not going to be the same.
No, this was not like some big life insurance payout.
Right. It's not a big windfall. However, no death certificate was issued. Don Englebert said, "I'm not pointing fingers. I don't know if it was family or a robbery gone bad." Okay. So let's break that down. I'm not pointing fingers. That's kind of like saying, with all due respect, and then saying whatever disrespectful thing you want to say. I'm not pointing fingers, but it could have been the family.
Yeah.
Or this could have been a robbery gone wrong. And I'm assuming when she says family, she's talking about Bailey's family.
Yeah, that's the way I take it.
She's not talking about her own family.
No.
The disappearance divided Chance and Bailey's friends and family. And there was a lot of speculation online that Bailey's family was somehow involved. Now, it's important to note there's no evidence to support these rumors, and Bailey and her family have cooperated with the police from the beginning. Brian Eads confirmed this in his interview with News Nation. He said they have enlisted outside help, and canine teams executed search warrants and conducted polygraphs. Eads added that Bailey and her family have been forthcoming and were all interviewed. Law enforcement also searched their property.
Well, look, her family's going to be pulled in based on some of the last conversations he had with her and his friend Matt.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're going to have to be interviewed. Number one, some of those people were the last known people to have seen Chance. So you're going to talk to him just based on that. But then when you throw in the fact that there was a disagreement, there was something that upset Chance to the point he got out of the car and started walking. Well, you're going to want to know what all of that was, and you're going to want to interview people about it. But this is something that crops up in a lot of true crime cases where, let's face it, there is a lot of speculation and rumors in all of these unsolved cases that we do.
Yeah.
Some of it, let's say, is grounded in some facts. Some of it's not based on any type of facts. It's just gut feeling that someone is putting out there on the internet.
Right. I mean, I feel like her family's allowed search warrants. They've allowed polygraphs. They've been forthcoming. I think if they had something to hide, you wouldn't allow all that.
Yeah. You probably would have lawyered up immediately. Eid said about the divide between the families. I mean, there's a lot of hurt feelings out there. the way things have been portrayed and misstated. In 2022, Chance's mother, Dawn, said she hadn't seen her grandson in over 2 years and was not in touch with Bailey. She told News Nation, her text messages say she wants nothing to do with me. She hates me. She blames me for everything that happened with Chance.
Yeah, I hate when you hear things like that. You know, there's a little baby not getting to see all his family.
Yeah, that's always a tough situation. But does it surprise you that, you know, something like this would cause a rift? I mean, Chance's mom did say, I'm not pointing fingers. It could have been family. And I think she was talking about Bailey's family. That's going to ruffle feathers.
It sure will. It's unfortunate, but statements like that could have an impact. And obviously here it did.
Now, I don't know what she means by she blames me for everything that happened with Chance. Before the disappearance or after the disappearance? I'm not sure. It's not specific. Mark Miller also said he wanted to sit down with Bailey to talk about what really happened that night and afternoon. Bailey said she received death threats and fears for her safety, and there have been a lot of false information and accusations against her family. So, I mean, again, you get the sense of the aftermath of Chance's disappearance, not only the grieving that they can't find him, but now you have accusations flying all over the place against different people. And it really seems like it drove a wedge between Bailey, her family, and then Chance's friends and family.
Yeah.
Almost as if they were pitted against one another.
Yeah, instead of working together.
Yes. Bailey said she continues to work with the police. She noted that on the night Chance disappeared, she called and went out to look for him a few times. The last time she spoke with him, he hung up on her. She said, I told the cops everything that I know. I've been completely transparent with them. I never hid anything from anybody involved with it. They just don't like the answers that I have to give. We invited the police into our homes to do searches, and we were all cleared long ago.
Well, sometimes I think the family and friends of Chance's, they just want to be able to sit down and hear that from you directly. Like, tell me what happened that night. Walk me through it. I have some questions. And I think maybe Bailey and her family are saying, look, we've talked to the police. The people that are doing the interviewing, that's all we really need to do. We don't need to relive it with you if we already told them.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I get both sides of it.
Yeah.
I get where, like, Mark Miller would want to talk directly. But I also get where Bailey and the family have been talked to so many different times. They probably don't want to rehash all that stuff. But
and I, if I was in Matt's position, I would want to do the same thing, just like you said. I really would.
But if you were in Bailey and her family's position, you'd probably feel the way they do.
Yeah, like I've already been through this. We don't need to keep talking about it.
Bailey also said, I can look at different facts of the case and how he was as a person and essentially drive myself crazy with what could have happened or what did happen. But at the end of the day, I don't have any answers. I'm really ready for the day that we do have answers, though. And I think this is something we probably don't talk about enough. You know, we talk about what a family and friends go through when a loved one goes missing, right? They're doing searches. Years go by. There's anguish about not knowing what happened to their loved ones. They don't have the answers. What we don't talk about probably enough is, you know, how a lot of times there's a lot of scrutiny on them.
Yeah.
And how that really plays, you know, on them and that would drag you down on top of what you're already going through. Amanda Waldron, a volunteer investigator for the nonprofit We Help the Missing, told News Nation that there are many men who have gone missing in Nebraska since 2019, saying it is definitely alarming. There are definitely some concerning circumstances, suspicious circumstances, random circumstances. Although I don't find any of them fit the profile similar to Chance. I mean, a lot of people go missing all around the world.
Sure.
But it really sounds like she is saying a lot of men have gone missing in Nebraska specifically.
Makes me want to stay away from Nebraska. But it's alarming, right?
It is.
When you hear stats like that.
Yeah, I think anywhere where you have an area where more people are going missing than the norm or what you would normally see, okay, what's the reason behind it? Is there a serial killer or multiple serial killers out there? Is there human trafficking involved? I mean, all of these things have to come up, or is it just an anomaly that more people happen to go missing in a certain area?
It could be that. Could be just as simple as that.
She noted that the final images of Chance were captured near Terry Lake, which is another body of water where he could be found. Again, we said, divers went out, but some of these lakes, and I don't know Terry Lake, I didn't look up the specifics on it, but some of these lakes are big, not easy to cover with a dive team.
Yeah.
Or multiple dive teams.
Unless you drain it, which you're not going to be able to do, it's going to be very difficult to locate something in there.
Again, it could be a very deep lake. It might not be a deep lake. I don't know anything about it. I just know, how many cases have we done where a car has been found after 25, 30 years?
Yeah.
And sometimes they even thought the car went in that body of water.
But couldn't find it then.
They couldn't find it then. And for whatever reason, a fisherman or whoever stumbled upon it.
Yeah.
On December 2nd, 2022, Chance's grandmother, Linda Klunder, added $200,000 to the reward fund, bringing the total to $220,000. The announcement was made on Chance's 29th birthday.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
The deadline for the reward was December 2nd, 2023. His family hoped the increased reward would motivate someone to come forward. Unfortunately, the deadline passed with no new developments. And, you and I have talked about this a number of times. In other countries like Australia, they really pump up the reward amounts to try to get people to come forward. Now, I think a lot of the time over there, it's put up by the government. Over here, we don't seem to be as big on that.
Right. More private and corporate.
I mean, his grandmother is putting up $200,000. But if you've got it, you're only going to be paying it out if you get the information that, you're looking for. Whatever the stipulation is.
Yeah. Which you want.
Which is what you want. Now, it's a boatload of money. Don't get me wrong. I just think that, the reward before that was $20,000. And I'm not going to say $20,000 is not a lot of money, because it is, but is it enough for someone to come forward and divulge what they know if there was foul play involved?
Right.
And I don't know for a lot of people that 20,000 would cut it.
But
now,
220,
200, 300, 400, 500. Now you're getting into the ballpark where somebody's going to roll the dice and take the chance on coming forward. Unfortunately, in this situation, it didn't happen. Now, is that because there was no one to come forward? Because there was no foul play? Or there was only one person involved? That person didn't tell anybody. So therefore, there's no amount of money
right,
that really makes sense for the perpetrator to come forward.
Or they're so scared that it's just not enough money yet to make them feel like they can come forward. Or there's never going to be enough money.
Yeah, I get you. Chance's mother, Dawn, told the Wyoming Truth, "I don't think we have enough money to get all the answers, but I hope that people will realize how much pain there is with Chance missing and speak up." And that's an interesting statement. I don't think we have enough money to get all the answers. She's probably correct. A PI working for the family told Wyoming Truth he didn't find any evidence to suggest Chance succumbed to the elements or died in the storm, saying he didn't fall off the bridge, and Chance did not decide to go for a swim in the middle of a storm.
Good point to make.
The PI also said the small group of people who may have knowledge of what happened to Chance is culpable and risk being charged with a crime. Therefore, they're not going to risk their freedom to collect a large reward. I believe they feel Chance is gone and therefore not worthy of the truth. So again, kind of some of the things that we were saying. If you're involved in the crime, well, less chance that you're going to come forward.
Sure.
You don't want to be charged. Now, could you get immunity? There's some different possibilities, but you're also taking a chance. What if you don't get immunity?
Exactly.
And now you've already put yourself in the crosshairs. In September 2023, it was announced that the arm bone found in October 2021 was not Chance's remains. The bone was sent to a lab in Florida. In January 2022, it took over a year to get the results. And I'm always shocked by how long some of the DNA testing and stuff takes.
Pretty lengthy sometimes.
Yeah. Other times they seem to get it back very quickly. The bone turned out to be the partial remains of 72-year-old Walter Eugene Patterson Black. He was last seen at a convenience store in Scottsbluff in May 2016. Walter was reported missing on May 15, 2016, after he hadn't contacted anyone for several days. His vehicle was found in the parking lot of the YMCA in Scottsbluff. Authorities believe he intentionally entered the North Platte River.
Well, what it tells me is that if that's the case, that river's pretty strong. And remember, they only found the arm. The rest of the body was never found. So if Chance did fall in the river, it could have carried him further away. And who knows where his remains might be.
Yeah, no, I get you. It could have also scattered after decomposition. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. Dawn Englebert expressed her sympathies to the Wyoming True, saying, "My heart goes out to the family because although people think it's closure, it's not. Just a bone or two doesn't give the family closure. I feel it makes more questions than anything."
Yeah, I get that, right? If you find a bone or two, it's not telling the whole story. You can speculate, but at the end of the day, you don't know what happened.
No, I mean, the one thing is that the person's not alive, but, for the most part, I think the family knows that already. More often than not, the family doesn't believe that this person just went off and left. They believe something happened to them, whether it was an accident, whether it was foul play, they don't know. But I think they keep hope alive for as long as they can. But Gibbs, at a certain point in time, after, years go by, I think most families start to believe that something tragic has happened to their loved one.
Yeah.
I think it's only natural because they would have contacted them by now. Even if they went off, they would have gotten word to them, something. In the summer of 2024, the public learned about two new leads. In Chance's case, one of those leads placed Chance at a convenience store in Scottsbluff, about 2 miles from where he was last captured on camera. The second tip involves two young women in distress who were spotted running down a road near the new location where Chance was last seen. Ryan Daniel, a volunteer PI working with the family, was the one who uncovered the information. When speaking to Cowboy State Daily, Daniel asked to keep his name private, but his name was used in a recent article by News Nation. Daniel spoke to a former clerk at a convenience store in Scottsbluff who claims to have seen Chance in the store between 8:30 and 9 p.m. on the night of July 6th. This was before the worst of the storm hit. The clerk recalled that it was raining lightly. When Chance walked in, the top of his shirt was wet. The clerk saw Chance having a tense conversation with another man at the back of the store. Chance then purchased tobacco and a Monster energy drink while he rang up Chance's items. the man Chance had been speaking to was buying items at the second register. The clerk carded Chance for the tobacco and recalled the fact that Chance was from South Dakota. And we mentioned it, right? He grew up on his family's ranch in South Dakota. Apparently, he never updated his driver's license.
Which a lot of people don't do until they absolutely have to.
But does that help give credence to this sighting?
I think it does.
The fact that this guy remembers he had a South Dakota driver's license. The clerk also remembered teasing Chance about what he called crazy people from South Dakota being out in the storm. Chance then said he was in an argument with his wife and needed to take a walk, but he cooled off and was heading back. The clerk praised him for being level-headed. Now, you could make the argument that a lot of this information would have been put out by the media, but I don't know about the South Carolina driver's license.
And what would be the benefit for him to make this up?
I can't really think of much other than, you could have somebody who just wants, their 15 minutes of fame. Maybe they think they're going to be interviewed by the news or something like that. I'm not saying this guy is making this up at all, but I'm sure there are people who have for reasons like that. The clerk said he saw the second man get into an unidentified vehicle, but couldn't recall a description of it. He also couldn't remember if Chance got in the vehicle or left on foot because he was too focused on the storm. So that was one tip, one lead. Who was this second man? Did Chance get in the car with him? Maybe the man said he would give him a ride. And what was this tense conversation?
Yeah, what was it about?
Yeah, that they were having. The second lead involved two women in their mid-20s running alongside the road near Five Rocks and Stable Club roads around 9 p.m. This was within a mile of the store where the clerk saw Chance. Witnesses said they were so beautiful they looked like models. Daniel, the PI, told Cowboy State Daily that the women were frantically calling out for assistance. Witnesses saw them get into a white two-door truck that was towing a small boat on a white trailer. They seemed to know the driver. No one is sure if this strange incident has anything to do with Chance's disappearance or if the women witnessed some sort of crime or traumatic event.
Kind of a strange thing to say. They were so beautiful they looked like models.
Well, it was said by a number of witnesses. They must have been beautiful women. That's all I can say.
That look like models.
That look like models. Ryan Daniel hopes that sharing this information will lead to new tips. He told News Nation if he did leave the store between 8:30 and 9 p.m. that night, that would put him down there in that area, which we believe not only the area of the incident, but the area of time. Chance's disappearance is focused on between 9 and 9:15 p.m. Daniel said about the two women, we think possibly they may have seen Chance. They may have seen somebody out that night. That time frame and where Chance was when he went missing, we need to narrow down. Brian Eads with the Gering PD confirmed he received the tip from the PI, but had not determined whether it's credible. So, we had the first kind of lead or tip. There's a second man. Okay, who's the second man? Were they arguing? Did Chance get in this guy's car? But then it does kind of dovetail possibly into this second lead or tip. Who are these women that are like frantically trying to wave someone down? And why are they doing so? And I think you have the PI suggesting that it's possible they saw something and it could have been Chance. It could have been something happening to him, but it's just a question that nobody knows the answer to.
It's interesting that a clerk saw him that night, that clerk knew he was from South Dakota based on his driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people inject themselves into cases.
Yeah. Yep. That's absolutely true.
And sometimes those people that do that, maybe they could have been involved.
Are you saying the clerk is potentially involved in the situation?
I wonder if they looked at it that way, though.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's probably caught on video being at that convenience store for a number of hours.
Yeah.
And not leaving.
But you never know.
No, I think they probably do know. I don't know if they know or not, but I'm kind of focused in, on these two women.
Yeah.
Why are they running down the road frantically calling out for assistance? Because, did their car break down and they're just in the rain, so they're kind of freaking out?
Or was it a ploy?
Or did they see something that scared them and they wanted someone to pick them up and take them away from that area?
Well, that could have been right there. They could have seen something that scared them, alarmed them.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why the PI is kind of, saying, well, you got to narrow down the timeline. He could have been around that area where these women were.
Yeah.
Around that same time. So could it have been something to do with him that caused them to freak out and, need assistance? Yeah. Don't know.
Maybe they're come forward.
5 years later, there's still a lot unknown about why and how Chance disappeared. Investigators haven't ruled out foul play, and his family doesn't believe his death was an accident caused by the storm that night. If you have any information about the disappearance of Chance Englebert, you can call the Gering Police at 308-436-5089. So as we wrap this one up, Gibbs, there was a lot going on with this case, but very little of it is definitive, which you often see in unsolved cases.
Sure.
You have a lot of information, maybe a lot of theories, a lot of chatter. Now, we talked about some more recent leads and tips, but what does it all mean? That's the hard part, trying to piece it all together. Was it really Chance that this guy saw in the convenience store? If not, then the second man doesn't mean anything. And the two women probably don't mean anything either as far as being connected to Chance. If it was him, well, then there's maybe a little something more to try to figure out there.
I do feel like it was probably some type of foul play. Just that's my own personal feelings.
And is that based on the fact that none of his remains have been recovered? Because I get it. You would think if there was some type of accident, and let's say he fell into the river,
right?
You would think at a certain point, one of his bones at least would have washed up somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But when you think about foul play and you think of someone burying or disposing of a body, well, those are tougher to find.
For sure.
Unless an animal or something digs them up, nobody's going to stumble upon those remains.
Yeah.
If they're disposed of in a way that the perpetrator, makes sure that no one's going to find them.
Well, I feel bad for his mom. I feel bad for his wife, his kid, I feel friends.
bad. Yeah, I feel bad for his wife's family. If they didn't have anything to do with it, they obviously were scrutinized heavily.
Yeah, sure.
And people talk about them still online as possibly being involved.
Yeah.
When, as far as I know, there's no evidence whatsoever.
Yeah.
You could say, well, that's a theory, but when you read some of the things written about them, they're said in a much more accusatory tone than any amount of evidence out there would allow you to really say. But when you're just typing on a forum, you can say whatever you want.
Sure you can.
But that's brutal.
It is.
For the family.
I feel bad for the little Banks,
Obviously,
he should get to know all his family.
Yeah, here we're focused on Chance, but, as we said, there's a rift. He doesn't get to see his grandma and that side of the family. And, that's a tragedy as well.
Sure.
But that's it for our episode on Chance Englebert. Maybe someday soon we'll have an update on this one.
I hope we do.
Yeah, I hope we do as well. We got some voicemails, though. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. My name's Caitlin. I have been a very long time listener to y'all. I've been listening to y'all since 2018. Same year my daughter was born, so like a really long time. I'm going brain dead. I was going to talk about something, but I just want to let y'all know that I love y'all's podcast. I absolutely love Gibby. I'm sorry, but I am Team Gibby all the way, because sometimes your English and like how you pronounce stuff is like all over the place, and that's how I am. And how Mike picks on you is how like my coworkers and stuff pick on me, and it's funny. Like I'll laugh about it, but like I connect with you on that level. But I love y'all, and I love the podcast, and keep your own time ticking. It's Caitlin again. Before I went brain dead in my last voicemail, I remember what I was going to say. I've been recently re-listening to all of the Unsolved. Actually, your episode on the Colonial Parkway murders, y'all probably know this, but it's been solved since y'all aired the episode. And actually, I thought my friend was joking that his uncle was the serial killer behind it. But when I was re-listening to it, I was like, this sounds familiar, so I got to Googling it, and sure enough, it is my friend's, like, uncle, and everything that was the serial killer of the Parkway murders. And so I thought that was interesting. Okay, I'm going to go again. Love you, Gibby. All right, bye.
Well, I thought it only fair to cobble both of those together.
Yeah.
And give her the second part as well. So, yeah, they have come out and said that this guy, Alan Wilmer, is responsible for a few
of them,
of the Colonial Parkway murders.
Yeah.
But is he responsible for all of them? That remains to be seen.
Well, and I get brain dead sometimes too.
A little sometimes?
Yeah. But
hey, we all do.
Love you too, Caitlin.
Mike, Gibby, Cats and Cats. I was re-listening to Unsolved Part 2 of Andrew Kissel. You guys are talking about True Crime All the Time fanny pack. You guys should definitely make them. I collect them. I'll definitely buy one. Also, I don't know if you guys have T-Cat patches to like sew on things, but I'm a jiu-jitsu athlete. I got a competition coming up in January. If you guys have any patches or anything, let's collab. Maybe you can send them my way. I'd love to put one on my competition gi for you guys. But yeah, stay safe. Keep your own time ticking. See you guys later.
All right. Both good ideas. We'll have a Gibby T-Cat fanny pack. And we don't have any patches. That's one thing we don't have. I have to look into that.
Do we? Why don't we have patches?
I don't know. Because nobody's ever asked for one. That was the first time.
Yeah. Well, maybe
So I'm assuming there's not a big demand for patches.
I'll just knit one up.
Yeah. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
I know how much you love to knit. You talk about it a lot.
Many different skill levels.
Yes, you do. All right. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
Pluto TV is a place for movie fans, like me.
And TV fans, like me.
They've got something for everyone, and it's free.
I love free, and I love Jersey Shore.
For me, it's The Godfather.
SpongeBob SquarePants, I am Patrick. Patrick is me.
Oh, Forrest Gump, come on.
Criminal Minds, solving crime after bedtime.
Whatever you love to watch, Pluto TV makes it easy with thousands of free movies and shows.
Pluto TV, stream now, pay never.